we are talking to Jason B. Miller yet again because we have so much to learn from this guy. So previously, we have been showing you some of his experiences and investigations that took place during the summer. So on this particular show, we're going to be talking about some of his investigative techniques and some of the stuff he's learned along the way during the winter while he has like heavy snow and stuff like that. So, Jason, tell us what you learned during the winter.
You got it. All right. So, buckle up. Here we go. So, what I'm about to explain, is roughly spring of 2014, early spring. And I had just started recently, the previous year, a local Sasquatch page. And I'm not plugging it, but it's called Northeast Washington Sasquatch Society. It's initially was set up just to have people call me, private message me, as we talked about on the last episode, families, individuals sharing information, which I learned from. This portion is going to highlight winter activity in my area and my area alone. So this will not pertain to Texas, Southern California, Florida, etc. Only temperate areas where we get seasons, all four, but this is going to be actual snow environment and what I learned. So I'm sitting at home. It is, I want to say, roughly March, and we had a pretty heavy winter. And during the winter, all I'm doing is brainstorming, thinking, obsessed with this new field of research that I want to just dive into. All of a sudden, I get a message on my phone, private message from an individual, name withheld, that he was cross-country skiing on the Ponderay Wildlife Refuge, which is which is southeast of me. And I don't know this person, but he says, I think you're the guy that I need to contact to have come out and look at something. And we're typing back and forth. And he says, I can't type this out. You have to come out here. I'm heading home, so please come out as soon as possible. Well, holy guacamole. I'm on it. Let's go. So he gave me exactly where to walk in and where to look. So this time of year, it's a wildlife refuge. Particular gates are closed to protect the wildlife from harassment, from poachers, from any type of nefarious activity. So the only way you get in is your feet. You better be able to snowshoe in or ski in or walk in, depending on how deep the snow is. So I get to the gate that he told me to get to, and I had seen that he was the only vehicle that had been there since it had last snowed. So I knew that this gentleman had actually gone in because I followed his ski tracks all the way in. I'm not particularly sure of the distance at this time, but it was a walk-in. And the snow was not dry. It was not deep, but it was at that point where it's just starting to melt enough where the temperatures are in the mid 30s. So we know snow's not going to be around very much longer. But I can't for the life of me imagine what he found out here. Now I'm thinking possible. Well, the possibilities were endless, what I was thinking. But Sasquatch never crossed my mind. Not even for a second. Because
You just thought he was inviting you out to come see something. You didn't know what it was at this point.
I had no clue. And he didn't mention it on the phone in type.
Uh-huh.
But I knew he contacted me, as I mentioned, on my Facebook page. But I wasn't sure. I'm thinking it's going to be something easily explainable, a log across the trail, or, endless thoughts are going through my mind. It was a very nice day. As I'm walking my way in, the road during the normal times of the year when the gates are open, it's actually a tourist drive. So people come from all around to drive this route in their vehicles to look at the scenery. Oh. So it's not a rough walk, but it's a long walk. So I'm getting there, and I get to the spot that he tells me to get to, which is called McDowell Lake. Anybody can look it up on the Ponderay Wildlife Refuge. It's called McDowell Lake. What it is, it used to be a little creek that they put an earthen dam in to create a backfilled pond, and then they would stock it with different types of fish and for recreational use. But there's no access as far as vehicles to get to there. You can get to a certain point, but from a certain point at the campground, if you want to walk in to fish, carry in your float tube, maybe wade, fly fish, it's a great spot because it doesn't get hit a lot. Now, as I'm getting closer and closer to the lake, I'm starting to hear, the best way I can describe it is this moaning, this deep moaning sound, and not short moans, but long, creepy moans. I can't figure out what this is. This is starting to get a little odd.
So at this point, are you still going towards the moans?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm walking straight. Not afraid.
All right.
I'm not worried. But they were moans that just didn't sound like anything I've ever heard. And then there would be gaps. And then it would pick up again. And my mind is just racing with what has this guy sent me to? And again, I am just going through my database of, could I be being set up for something? Could this be trickery, hoaxing? It was endless what I was thinking because I had a long walk out there. So finally, as I approach the lake, there is a normal Forest Service bathroom and a gravel kind of slopey boat launch if you want to have a little rubber raft or something. But I get to the bathrooms, and here comes these moans, just loud as can be. Now I am looking all around, and then I figured it out. It's the ice sheets that were moving against one another as the ice of the lake were thawing in chunks and rubbing against one another, causing those sounds.
I have to say I'm a little disappointed.
Well, I was. I says, man, to myself, what a waste of time. However, it was worth the walk. It was pretty cool. Now I can kind of go home and write up a little post notation of why I was sent out there. And I was going to message the guy back and say, this is what you heard. Well, lo and behold, I decided to walk down to the shoreline because I noticed that he had taken off his skis and he had walked slowly down the shoreline. And he stopped at this one spot on the shoreline, and you can see where he stood. This individual had stood observing what I had just walked upon. And this is why he called me. So instantly I thought, hoaxing, trickery. What I would like you to pull up here. I instantly started to put together that I had been tricked. What was there, the reason why he had called me out there was not the moans of the ice sheets rubbing against each other. It was the fact that he observed in the snow these Sasquatch footprints.
All right, which ones do you want me to pull up? This thing or this?
No, there'd be the one with another dollar bill right there. So that was, this one here is the closest one to the shore. So the first thing I did was I grabbed a dollar bill and then my tape measure, and I photographed this first right foot. Then I noticed as I'm looking at this print, his feet where he was standing was well 30, 40 yards away from this print. So I removed the possibility of a hoax. That was gone. Because if the gentleman had tried to hoax me, there would have been some sort of closer marks in the snow of him shuffling, some sort of sign that he had gotten from point A to point B. What then occurred was I looked forward, and this Sasquatch, and I am saying this outright, that this is what I believe came from an actual Sasquatch, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
There should be another photo of an expanded view. Okay. So you can see the dollar bill, and then directly to the right, and I have my name there. There is a series of footprints that walks out onto the sheet of ice. One of the sheets of ice that had been broken. And then it had turned around and walked back to the shoreline. So once and I am saying this confidently, once this Sasquatch had walked out onto the ice, I believe that it felt unsafe continuing to take a shortcut across the lake. It had turned back around, and then it started to walk the shoreline. And I don't know if I sent another photograph of the shoreline itself.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I do have, it looks like what you mapped out on top of a lake, of a line going out on top of a lake.
So I'll pick it up from there. So on this image, this is from Onyx Maps. So at the bottom of the picture, there is a white dot and a straight dot going north. And that would be the shortest distance from point A to point B. But you can see that I've also mapped out a secondary red line where it walked the shoreline, walked out onto the ice, turned around, came back, and you can see where I stopped the red line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's the important part that I would really like to highlight. No other human sign was out there. Only the gentleman snow skiing where he turned around and left. The first print was where, not the white dot at below. The first print was the red dot where I show where it walks out. But when I walked back to the tree line, at the bottom dot, I noticed a whole bunch of fresh debris that came off the canopy of this one big tree. Like if something shook a tree and just shook all the material that would fall out onto the ground right around the base. But there was no footprints there. Then the first footprint began, walked out on the ice. Then it stopped right at the 452 mark. From that point on, there is a culvert that allows overfill to drain west into a swampy area, so the lake can stay at one level.
Mm-hmm.
So the last footprint that in the snow that I found, from that point on, it disappeared. There was 0 tracks. So I'm standing there trying to figure out where the next track would be. How far could I jump to get to where the next track could be? And I mean, I couldn't do it. So I walked the shoreline, and at the very top of the picture, there's that last dot. And that is where the next tree I found that had the same just bunched up material at the bottom, at the base of the tree, as the tree below. So this is my opinion from spending 2 days out there. I believe that the Sasquatch was using the trees to traverse from tree to tree to tree. It then got to the lake, had to get down, jumped from the bottom dot, hit the ground, tested the ice, walked back to the shoreline, got to the culvert, and then, in my opinion, it launched itself from that into that red line to that white dot. That's the only hypothesis I could come up with that made sense.
It's quite something to imagine too. Something that we picture so big, jumping from tree to tree to tree.
And here lies where I started doing some research. I started wondering what it would take to be able to launch a body, and I'm just going to use an average of 800 pounds. I'm just using this as an average. The bone density of such a creature is not going to be the same as a human, our bone density. I mean, it would be night and day. To support such a massive structure, the mass, the weight, they would have to have some sort of, and I want to use this term loosely, but additional power in their body to launch themselves a great distance up into the tree canopy.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Before we go before
Yeah.
we leave this slide, because I know we're about to show some pictures with musculature and stuff.
Correct.
I got to ask this because I know other people were thinking it too. When you talked about the other guy who called you out there, his tracks were on the shore, and you saw the other track going out there. Do we have any of just that singular trackway with no one else's beside it?
Any photographs?
Yes, sir.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Now, and again, this is all learning experience.
Oh, no, and I totally get it. It's just one of those things where I feel compelled to ask.
Right. I
Right?
was so excited
Uh-huh.
to have had somebody find something that I overreacted. I made a mistake.
Hey, and you know what? That's a lesson right there. Just being able to own mistakes or even say, yeah, I messed up. Because a lot of people right then might have gotten a little defensive with me just for asking that question.
Mhm.
So I appreciate you showing people how to handle that situation.
I own it.
All
I
right.
own it. It's on me.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you. You want me to put up the giant bull looking thing or the legs?
In 1 sec.
Okay.
This picture, this map is during the summer. Again, it's not a great representation of winter, but I wish I had taken more. The camera I had was one of those cameras where you take a picture and then you got to use your thumb to wind the next piece of film.
Ah, okay. We're using film. All right.
Yeah, it's the old Kodak ones.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what I brought out there with me. I again, just beginning. I have my crappy little BlackBerry cell phone.
All right, BlackBerry. What year was this?
2014.
Gotcha.
So I just knew. I'm pretty sure it was a BlackBerry, but I just knew I had to have some sort of photographic evidence, but learning experience. I needed to have backed up, slowed my roll, and did exactly what you just mentioned. Document everything, no matter what it is. Even if you think it's worthless, it might have some use down the road. So every time I tell this, I just kick myself in the rear because, again.
But that's why we're doing this. We're doing this as a learning experience.
Correct. Nowadays, with everybody having a phone on them and cameras, you're going to collect intelligence a lot faster, clearer, and have those tools with you. So I mentioned that this is a 2-day event. So after I noticed, and in my opinion, that it jumped. Now, there's 2 photographs that I wish I would have taken. One from where the gentleman had taken off his skis and walked down to the shoreline to show the distance, because I thought maybe he had bought like a pair of big fluffy bunny slippers, and it jumped out on the ice and it came home and was messing with me. No. You could see where he was looking. Then the last print at the culvert, there was a clear impression from the toes and the front pad lifting off with the right foot, jumping up in the air. Mm-hmm. It was crystal clear. That's where my hypothesis and my theory is, that it jumped. And when I measured it later on, it was just under 110 yards from that red dot culvert to that white dot.
110 yards.
110 yards. Well, 109 and change.
That doesn't matter.
That's why it launched itself. Now, if anybody goes on Google Earth and they look up McDowell Lake, they will be able to see the culvert, and they will be able to then, if you put it in a 3D mode, see the distance to the tree line. And you will then get a better representation of just how far it had to have launched itself, and then like grab that tree and worked its way up, or grabbed a branch and then sloughed off all the bark and the small branches that fell to the, and the needles that came off the tree. No other trees around had that debris. So I stand by this. It had to have come from the tree canopy from below. And I don't want to use this term in an inappropriate manner, but in an orangutan or a chimpanzee type motion in the canopy, sloughed off material as it jumped to the shoreline, and it again launched itself back up to leave no trace pre and post. I looked. Now, I came back out the second day, and it was even warmer. And I tried to pour a cast, and it just blew out.
But the snow's already starting to widen as it gets bigger, and
it was widening as I was walking up to it. I'm joking.
I get it.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you're gonna try to cast me? Well, look what we're gonna do, melt. I tried. I really tried. I brought hairspray with me. That didn't work. But I got enough photographs and size comparison that, in my opinion, it used the treetops to traverse at this time of the year in spring, going somewhere. I don't know why it tested the lake out. The lake was broken into 5 or 6 different giant chunks, and that's what was making the noises. And then launched itself up into the next canopy.
Hey, quick tip.
Yeah.
The computer air dusters, the things that you the spray that just sprays air, the compressed air. You can turn that upside down and you can spray it out and it'll freeze. You can actually use that to spray around the outside edges of your snow and help it start to freeze back a little bit, just to harden, to at least give you some hardened boundaries for within, so it doesn't break out the tops.
Excellent.
Just a quick little CSI tip.
Excellent. I use a product now that's specifically made to harden the snow.
Yeah. I mean, they do make those too.
Yeah, but at the time, I thought I had it all right. I mean, but live and learn.
Yeah.
So I get home the second day, and I'm starting to wonder what in the world could cause these beings to be so strong, be able to use the canopies, etc. And in 2013, when I had my up front and face-to-face encounter with the juvenile, I can't stress this enough, just how well deformed this juvenile's body was already at such a young age. I mean, like he'd been in the gym from birth, like in there bench pressing in diapers. I mean, just jacked. There is a thing called myostatin deficiency, where you lack a certain gene that stops the normal growth of muscles. It will allow the muscles to continually grow larger and larger. And there's a great example called the Belgian blue cow. And this cow has muscles upon muscles upon muscles. And this cow doesn't do nothing but sit and graze. So could these beings have a genetic deficiency that causes them to be so
Jacked.
Massive birth. I mean, I couldn't imagine the mom giving birth to, a big old jacked kid. So that was the other picture that I was showing you of a bodybuilder and versus Patty. So
Right.
you can see that she's got well-deformed thighs. Now, again, I met Bob. This has been picked apart enough. She's got well-deformed thighs. Her calves are massive. Her buttocks is, extremely pronounced. Her hamstrings are bulging out. But this is a guy who's full of chemicals, to enhance his physique. So you can be born with this deficiency that just overproduces muscles naturally. So the power that it would take to spring off the substrate just at 110 yards, and I'm not saying straight across, it had to have been able to go up into the air and grab the first set of branches. Again, that is what I believe.
Right. Well, I mean, it's almost like, what else would you believe when the tracks stop, but you have evidence of the trees moving
Correct.
on each end? So I can see I can see why you went there. I can. I mean, I wasn't there, but I can see why you would. Tracks are going, they stop and stop on each side. Yeah.
Now, if there had not been any sloughing off of the tree bark, the branches, the limbs, the needles, and other debris at point A to point B, I might chalk it up to, I'm not a woo-woo believer, but opening the portal and then going, that's what I might have been at that point at this point in time, but not when I found those two and there was no other sign around.
Well, I'll go this on the whole portal thing. If they had a portal, they wouldn't need to backtrack off the lake for fear of the cracking.
There you go. They would have just went, whoop.
Yep.
Exactly. So that's my first real encounter in the winter. Many lessons learned, many. And I did call the guy back. Excuse me. I did message him back. I couldn't thank him enough. And he goes, I didn't want to give it away. I wanted to see if you would actually go out, find what I found, and then come back with your report. And we talked for hours. And I don't know what happened to him. I mean, I just didn't speak to him after that. But that was one of the moments that I learned a lot that day. The moaning. Yeah, that was.
Hey, you learned something that day too. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It was a great 2 days. So from that point on, I started to think, well, if this, and I am saying it is my opinion. If this living flesh and blood being was out in early spring, where do they go during the winter? We've talked about what I believe is a migratory path up into Canada. I do believe some stay behind to take care of elders or sick ones. I believe that they do slow down their metabolism, such as bears do, or some bears do, to save what fat resources they have. I do believe that they cache a whole lot of goodies, over the, summer that, they'll hit. So that started my winter expeditions, and man, did I go full bore. I mean, I went all in.
Yeah, I saw some of your camping pictures. That's insane.
Those are, you can pull up pretty much. Okay, so these are massive granite boulders that have fell on top of one another.
Let's see. Yeah, I'll go back to that one. Yeah, there we go.
This is just massive granite boulders that have fell on top of one another. We'll cache wood in there. We had totes in there that we'd hauled in during the spring, all sorts of gear. I had some netting up to kind of keep us hidden, etc. And I would spend 2-3 days minimum out in these areas. Great buddy of mine would hang out with me, and we would do just nothing but exploring in the snow, walking at night, just take off, walk, look, listen, and nothing. Never had a thing happen for years. So I kind of believe, well, I do believe that in my area, winter kind of slows down to almost nothing. You might get a report of a vocal. I got one this winter from a pair of, inebriated snow machiners. And they tried to describe to me the best they could what they heard. And I did my little long walks, shouldn't say little, but I did my walks way up in the mountains where they said it come from. But when you're in these canyons, it can be bouncing around all over the place. So just throw a dart somewhere and follow that. But when I hear people reporting vocals during the wintertime, it's pretty much the local animals. Could be, cougar, lynx, we have fox up here. Could be a bear come out to stretch, and yell and something. Could be somebody just screaming at the top of their lungs. But I pretty much slow down during the winter, and not much happens. Not much. Very seldom will something credible be reported to me that I will go out and investigate. And I don't remember which episode we talked about it, but we did talk about a white season.
Oh, I remember that guy. Yeah, he was the one that was on the curve.
Yes, on Highway 20 on the top of Cinnamon Pass. That had been seen for years and years and years during broad daylight. Nobody ever got a picture of it because the curve, you're paying attention to this nasty switchback. And then just disappeared. Gone. But I also correlate that to, thank you, Washington State Department of Transportation, for putting a camera up there, right where it was crossing. They put a camera in the same spot where maybe it now knew to not cross there. But it was a reoccurring theme. Maybe it changes color during the winter, like a Yeti. Don't know, but gone. It's been many a year since anybody's seen it.
So, well, going back to the winter thing, that first impression that you took with the dollar bill and the tape measure out, I saw it was around 13.5, 14 inches long. In your experience, I just figured while I had it up there and I was remembering it, is that about the size you're seeing? 13.5, 14 inches, or are you seeing much larger, or are you seeing everything in between?
That's one great question.
And you know why I'm asking? We were talking before we even came on the show about some casts that I had. I'm currently looking at that are around 13.5, 14 inches. And I was wondering, is that large, small, average? Because I'm not out there, and I was just curious.
I've seen all sizes.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen all sizes from little tiny feet little tiny ones, 16, 17, 18
almost
inches.
Like there's a toddler on its own walking around.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
I got an excellent encounter regarding just that subject.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say encounter, but I don't know how to label it, but I'll make this quick. I took a guy up elk hunting And I knew this area very well. I knew where the elk bedded down. And this is before the wolves came in and destroyed our population. Again, thank you, state of Washington. But this place was, I mean, I had it nailed. I knew where to post up my friends. I knew where to come back around, kick them up, and I knew exactly what draw they were going to run down into. So I posted up my buddy up high. I had my other buddy down low. Perfect setup. Perfect setup. So I make my loop around, and this is in late October, and both of my buddies are in the correct spot. I know they're in the correct spot because I placed them there, and I told them, don't move. Don't move. Unless you shoot something, of course, but stay right here till I come get you. And I made my big loop around. I kicked the elk up. And when you know it, the elk decided to go the opposite direction that I thought they would go, just on that particular day. And I'm like, well, there goes the morning. You know, might as well start working my way back, go back to camp. We'll come up with another plan for the evening. So I start working my way down this finger on the top of this ridge. And I come up across my buddy who's up higher. Now he's looking the way I want him to look.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be bopping around, you know, looking up at the sky. I want you to be focused this direction. And he was laser focused. So he didn't see me coming out of the right corner of his eye because, you know, I had him looking in the proper direction. But I come ninja walking through the timber, making no noise. I mean, zero noise. And I get to within maybe 20 yards of him. And I just make the slightest whistle. And he's like, holy, how'd you get? Dude, you're good. You know, just, we'll talk about this later. So I come down to him and we're underneath the big ponderosa tree, just sitting there, and we're whispering back and forth. And in front of us, where I wanted him to look, was the side of this hill sloping down, and you could see for 700-800 yards as open timber. But just to the right was where some timber had come in and ended, if that makes sense. It just right. A grove of timber come in and ended. Mm-hmm. So his visual field is looking straight and then kind of to the left, and the thick timber's up to the right. And we're just sitting there, just barely making each other's voices out. And right where the timber line comes to a point, the biggest tree right there, towards the top was the loudest crack, like a tree knock, but not a crunch. Like, do trees make a sound when they fall in the woods? Yes, they do. Even if we're not there to hear, of course. But this was so loud right above us. So instantly, I told my friend, I says, drop down and work your way up the draw. I'm going to work the way up I just came. And both of us just keep looking down into this little draw, because there might have been some elk bedded down in there that whole time that hadn't got kicked up.
Right.
So we work our way parallel far enough, and I call it off. I says, no. I whistle to him. I says, you know, he sees me. I says, let's go back. So we get back to where we were originally standing underneath this tree, and we're done for the day. The area is blown. And we start working our way on a game trail. Now, the sun had just started to come up and started to thaw the frozen mud. So it was frozen, very cold that night. The sun was coming up, shooting hours. But the sun was up enough where it was just starting to thaw the mud. on this game trail. Right where that tree was at, right on that game trail, was a perfect Sasquatch footprint. So our hypothesis or our opinion was the whole time my buddy was sitting there, there was one up in a tree watching him that whole time, possibly slipped, or lost his grasp, or the limb it was sitting on broke, gave himself away. As we're dumb enough to not look up, lesson learned, always look up. We're looking down. It sneaks down, in our opinion, steps on that game trail, and then didn't follow it, but kind of angled its way down off the hillside. Perfect print in the mud. Were we ready to make a cast? No, we were up elk hunting. We had nothing with us. Nothing. So that was just one of those, again, learning experiences. If you're elk hunting or deer hunting,
bring all your Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah, bring something. Just something. I mean, what a frustrating moment. I mean, by the time we would have gotten to town to go buy some material,
who knows?
Who knows? A herd of elk or a moose could have come through and just destroyed it. I mean, I would have had to have my other buddies sit on that, guard it, make sure nothing touched it. But lesson learned, be prepared.
All right. That's pretty funny and frustrating, I'm sure.
Oh, was it ever?
So I know you had some other pictures that you shared with me that were in the snow. Was that something that you wanted to talk about this time still, or were you good?
I believe those were just ancillary pictures of moose double steps. Yeah, so you can see these are straight lines, the very deep ones.
Yeah,
that was a bear.
Yeah.
Of course, when that starts to blow out, you're going to leave the toe impressions. These are just pictures of things that. Now this right here, this is a moose. Very fresh powder. When I first came across it, I didn't notice a whole lot of it. It's just a perfect straight line. And again, if somebody was a novice walking out somewhere in the snow and noticed that, most people aren't going to go down with their fingers and start touching the bottom of the track, looking for the tips of the hooves, etc. This is just another picture of another blown out track.
And when you say blown out, for those people that are listening or watching that don't have snow, what do you mean by blown out?
So when an ungulate or bear, even a human, is traversing through the snow and fresh powder, fresh whatever snow it is, as it starts to melt, it starts to expand, and you start to lose the perspective, and you start to lose the height, the details. Especially moose, they will double step, and bears are the tricky ones, especially if you got a big. I think I sent you can't believe it was a grizzly or a black bear. One in the mud. There you go. So you got a grizz track.
Yeah, so I wanted you to explain the blown out thing, because I had seen a lot of pictures from people saying, check out this giant footprint in the snow. And at the bottom, there's grass, and it's clearly blown out, the terminology that you're using. My foot steps in the snow, it starts to melt, it widens and widens and widens, and you don't know how long it's been there. But there's telltale signs, you can see it starts to smooth out. But I've seen some trackways where, the grass is showing through and it's blown out, and they're huge, and they're like, look how big, and they're measuring it, but it's just blown out snow print. So it's something for people to keep in mind, especially when you're just looking at the internet of people's pictures.
There you go.
Keep that in mind too. But
Excellent.
that's a pretty neat it's a pretty neat track there too. I want to zoom in so bad.
Well, if you notice there's no claws,
I think
which
there's one on the 1, 2, 3, 4 right at the top.
fourth
Yeah. Yeah.
fourth one. So that one really surprised me. Now, if there had been a second double step in that mud, and then it got more and more wet, because this was near us, a wallow. So the animals were coming down to get water during the day and night. If there had been a double step and then the water substrate was seeping, it would expand and elongate, and you'd think you'd hit the lottery, especially having a series of them. But then, you got to go back and think, what is this actually, and work yourself backwards. Not have Sasquatch on the mind all the time. And that was one barrier that I had to work real hard to get over.
Well, it's tough. People want to study and learn about Bigfoot, not study all these other animals that are off in the woods that, it's boring sometimes. But sometimes you have to study the boring stuff to be able to discern and discriminate what's in front of you.
Without keeping an open mind and without knowing your local game, you're just going to be stuck in one mode and you're not going to progress. You're going to have Sasquatch on the brain, period. Yeah. And it's very hard to dig yourself out of that hole.
Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I mean, and I get it. In the beginning, luckily, I found that I'm enjoying the study of the bear study that I'm doing. But in the beginning, I thought I was going to hate it. I was only doing it because I wanted to be able to tell the difference. Because I knew if there's something big and large walking through the woods out there, then I should know what the other big thing that's walking through the woods looks like too, so I can know the difference. Because the last thing I would hate, especially in my profession, is to profess that I found a Bigfoot track and then have somebody nail me on a bear. So I was like, no. But yeah, it's cool to know just like you said, you have to learn all the other stuff too. You can't just learn about what you think are all the Bigfoot signs.
Takes time, and it takes a willingness to accept criticism of all kinds. I've had it all. Doesn't bother me. I actually crave it, because I've had a few times where I've been stumped and somebody solved it for me, and I'm like, oh, there you go. And that's what I mean by community and family and other people out there to help educate yourself in this world, because we're not alone.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do this without each other. Exactly. This is what it's about, especially in research. We're sharing each other's ideas, hypotheses, pictures, so we can learn from one another. I mean, and if we didn't do that, we'd be lost.
And you got to have thick enough skin to take the criticism and let somebody explain their point of view without cutting them off or blocking them on Facebook or, instantly going at them. Let them explain where they're coming from, and maybe it just might answer your questions. Might not. But if you don't give it a chance, you're not going to progress. You're just going to be stuck. And I hope some of this helped.
Yeah, I got one more photograph, and I don't know if you wanted to show it. It looks like a human versus a Bigfoot. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's like two.
Oh, yes, please. Please. This is important. Thank you.
Okay.
So I will condense this. So we've got what we assume, or what is possibly a Sasquatch, larger in the gray casting. Yeah. Again, we don't know if this is 100% real. Could be not. However, the footprint on the right in the tan, you've got all 5 digits. You've got the arch. you've got the ball of the foot. But here's where I try to tell people and educate people when they send me pictures. Not all of them have them, but when we're born, our feet, our baby feet are very malleable, very able to pick up stuff like hands, chunky. They're not formed yet. Baby feet are baby feet. As soon as we start throwing our children's feet in Western shoes, Western society, our toes develop because of the shoes and the design, and it keeps the toes, kind of compressed. Also, the toes curve inwards. So on this footprint here, on the far right, this would be the right foot, but you can see how the toes are all kind of squished together and kind of curving inwards a little bit.
Oh, you can see they're clearly compressed.
They're compressed.
Do you know what size that foot is?
No, I just snatched this off the internet.
Oh, okay. For demonstrative purposes.
Correct.
Got it.
But if a person was to be living out in the wild, the jungle, the desert, the woods, it doesn't matter. Your feet are going to develop to whatever, again, environment that you're living in. They're going to adapt. They're going to form. You're going to have injuries, possible injuries, but your feet are not going to start to look curved inwards due to the way our shoes are designed. And I just try to tell people, if you find a footprint, and this is my opinion only from the schooling that I've gone through, etc. Each toe is almost touching, has a slight curve inwards. Then you've got your arch and the ball of your foot. And of course, our arch is like a spring, where Sasquatch is supposedly supposed to have what is I have a.
You talking about the mid-tarsal break?
Tarsal break. So as it lifts, it lifts at that break, but our foot is designed with a natural shock absorber, the arch, etc. But I just want to highlight the fact that Western society, Western shoes curve our toes inwards, almost pigeon-toed, and squeeze them together. Take your shoes off, live in the wild for a year or two, and see how they start to develop in a different manner based on the area that you live in now. They're going to start to change, adapt to your environment. So when I get sent pictures like the one on the right, I mean, in my opinion, I just instantly say that's a human footprint compared to the one on the left. Chunkier, baby foot looking, and more adaptive to weight dispersion. Versus,
it doesn't look like it's been wearing shoes its whole life. Not at all.
Correct. So that's just kind of how when I find prints or have them sent to me, that's just kind of how I rule out to the best of my ability and give my opinion. And if my opinion is taken in a warm manner, great. If it's taken negatively, I tried.
Right. Okay. Well, man, thank you for sharing all that.
Got it.
I don't know how you do it up in the snow. I know I've said that before. I think I'm more suited for the heat down here. I'm sure I would adapt like some people do, but it might take a long, long time and an attitude adjustment as well. So that's
you got to know, you got to be safe. Number one, of course, and you got to really actually like it. Not a lot of people do, but I do want to add one more note regarding winter. Winter sounds travel a lot further in the winter. I mean, they can travel so much further. And if somebody is in an area where they hear a sound, a scream, a vocal, or something that they can't identify, I would like to suggest take the area where you're at and look on some sort of mapping system for surrounding possibilities. And I'll give you a quick example. There's a person who reports constantly in a certain area hearing these sounds, these children giggling. First of all, don't ever go towards that if you're out in the woods. You know, wait deep. Don't be fooled by those sounds. But if you're in an area and you hear something odd that you can't explain, I would suggest first go put a pin on your map or whatever and just look around the area. Because this one person kept saying over and over and over again at this one spot, he was always hearing these same sounds over and over and over again. First thing I did was I went and I pulled up the spot he was at. A little over 2 miles behind where he's hearing this sound consistently is a commune of about 100, 150 people. So possibly the sounds that he's hearing are traveling, and that's what he's picking up. And again, having, Sasquatch on the brain, thinking there's no other possibility. Well, it could be a bunch of kids out there playing, and at the right time of day, night, or time of the year, sounds can go for miles and miles and miles. So
that they can. Just remember, the next time you're out on your boat on a lake and you hear stuff, it travels forever across the water.
There you go.
And then that air gets thinner in the winter.
Exactly.
No leaves to hold it back.
Yep. Exactly.
It just keeps on going.
So that's the first thing I do. If somebody says I heard something, I will do a little bit of looking around. If there's nothing within miles, let's go take a peek. If there's a house real close, we'll see.
I should always go take a peek.
Oh, I do.
Always take it that step further.
Yep.
Don't just go, oh, I heard it. You need to go look.
Yeah. And if I don't, the curiosity will just bug me and bug me and bug me. And then after a while, it's too late. But
yeah. So that's excellent advice. That's excellent advice.
All right.
Thank you so much. You're going to be busy the next couple of weeks. So we may or may not be doing another one soon. Because I think Jason's got a lot on his plate within the next month. So thank you for sharing all that you have right now. And I look forward to talking to you and picking this up again when you get back.
Got it.
So much. I know you do. I can't wait. Thank you so much, Jason. You have a great night.
Everybody, thank you. Thank you.
Right. Bye.